Alright, likely the first in a series of videos, I think, where I respond to some of the things the amazing atheist says. Yeah, that might have been on purpose. Um, Freudian something or other. Anyway, I hate when he does that voice. Anyway, so I watched one of his videos, and I watched this stupid fucking interview with Brett Keane. And what a waste. Just a big, giant waste of time. Dull, boring, nothing. Just nothing. There's nothing. He didn't say anything. Nothing. But in his video, he does, okay? He has a little piece in there when he makes a little speech about why nihilism is the only rational choice, because there's absolutely no evidence of anything called value. There's no way I could argue with you in any kind of rational way about the value of anything. So if I put an orange in one hand that doesn't have a brain, can't feel, and I put his dog in my other hand, he is going to be rationally confused. He won't be able to reason his way into figuring out that if I was going to slowly insert a knife into one of them, that it would be rational, decidedly rational. I mean, as rational as not believing in leprechauns, as rational as not believing Bugs Bunny works for Donald Trump. Whatever. Just come up with all these ludicrous things that it would be quite obvious that he would know that, yes, the only rational choice is to stick the knife in the orange, slowly, and not his dog. He could figure that out. That there's no rational way to come up with an alternative theory that's rational, that doesn't have leprechauns in it or something, like sadistic leprechauns, or some other kind of bizarre, silly nonsense, to make any kind of rational kind of argument defending slowly inserting the knife into a feeling creature. And yet he just says this shit. I mean, he's had, 30 fat years to look at the world and to experience it, and he doesn't know there's things that are unpleasant, things that are outright painful. See, he mixes his sex with his philosophy a lot, and so he can't figure out that, yeah, the pain he enjoys in his little sadomasochism games is a lot different than the pain he would experience if he had chemotherapy, or the pain he would experience if he had to exercise even to save his life, right? He's been way overweight, way unhealthy for a long time, and yet he can't even accept the pain of getting his own body in shape. That's too much pain for him. It's too inconvenient and uncomfortable. And yet he'll say there's no value to this thing called discomfort. It has no meaning. It's meaningless. Yet it's controlling him. Hypocrisy. So it revolves around this whole thing too. Like, atheism somehow means that, well, if we just observe the world and no one ever told us about a God theory, and we were just humans and we were acquiring information and knowledge, why would we assume that the other animal organisms weren't doing what we're doing? Wouldn't we assume rationally that, yeah, they're made of the same stuff we are? We're not special. God didn't make us special. He didn't make us out of the dirt and do it on purpose and put nipples and all that kind of crap just for fun. So none of that bullshit happened. So wouldn't we just consider chimpanzees and gorillas and other organisms, and especially things like dogs, who are very social, they adapt to our lifestyle very well, that they're just dumber than we are? They're just a little bit retarded. Yes, they can't do math very well. They can do some math. And they don't do language very well. But they can learn a few words. Yet, these assholes say, hey, I can't do that logic and say that thing is entitled to something like respect for the fact that it's a feeling creature, that it's doing what we're doing, which is having bad days and good days. And just like the orange and the dog, it's logical not to stick knives slowly into them. And certainly not logical to torment them for your convenience, to torture them in concentration camps that are really concentration camps. I mean, they really get concentrated, and they're tortured for your convenience. It's for your food taste. Not by necessity, but just because you're lazy and you don't like the discomfort of not being able to have your favorite food. You're so weak. He did, in the interview, call suicide cowardly. Yeah. I love when people do that. I mean, I love it in the completely negative way where it just gives me an excuse to hate. It gives me the license to imagine them, yes, getting what they deserve, getting the worst of it. And I'd love to watch them squirm so I could just keep telling them, take it, you coward. Eat it, you coward. Yeah, suffer some more, coward. Yes, I just would love to do that. Anyway, I mean, it's just such bullshit to judge somebody else a coward because they can't take it, because they're in pain. Pain is something they're supposed to eat. And you're able to judge their pain and say it's superficial and it doesn't mean anything because you're somehow an expert, even though you couldn't even bother graduating from high school. Yet you're an expert on pain and its management. Amazing. Amazing asshole. That's what I should call it. Well, asshole and nihilist, it's the same fucking word. You really can't make a distinction between the two words. Asshole, nihilist. Yes, that's all it can be. Because it's just as inappropriate in any kind of rational way to have an asshole. I mean, it's just the opposite of perfect. Well, it has an asshole. Well, it can't be perfect, then can it? I mean, you're guaranteed to be imperfect if you have a fucking asshole. So in a backward kind of way, it's a disproof of nihilism that the asshole exists. But anyway, that's a whole separate proof. Let me just deal with this rational one, where from our own experience, and certainly from my own experience, maybe you're not a conscious being. Maybe you're just a stupid, dumb cockroach, or no, like a cockroach feels. Visit, learn. See, this is the part of the thing where, yeah, these amateur scientists are a real problem. Because they really don't think about it, and they really haven't done enough research to understand the nature of psychology, the nature of the biological organism's evolution, and the fact that feeling is a very old function. The capacity to be whipped, to be carroted and whipped, to be in some way persuaded to do something because it's advantageous in some stupid biological way, to the reproductive mechanism, to the you conquer the world ideal that's built into the structure of all the organisms. Until they had to have the counter mechanism which said, don't be so successful that everybody wants to kill you. I think that sort of works with YouTube too. Yeah, because, yeah, you kind of, I feel a little bit of it. You kind of do hope something falls on them. I do. Anyway, because it is just so bad. I mean, who are they talking to? Who's so stupid? Well, I've seen them, so there's no point in me asking who, because I could probably name them. These assholes who, they feel. They complain about shit, obviously. They complain how they can't control things. And why can't they control them? Because it doesn't feel good, right? And yet they'll deny the existence or the meaning of the importance of this mechanism of feeling bad. They'll just pretend, hey, it's the same thing. Stick a knife in an orange, stick a knife in a dog. It's the same difference. Well, who cares? How could it possibly be a value equation at all? How could value even enter into our conversation? That's some sort of subjective crap that you just make up, that you have a feeling about, and that's what a nihilist runs on, right? They don't think with their brain and reason, see? They think with their stomach, or their penis, or some other stupid gland, and that's as far as their tongue. How does it taste good? Yum, yum, yum. And that's as far as their little tiny minds can think. And It's really not, though. That's the truth of it, right? Because what they are is fucking hypocrites. Well, the hippo just came into my mind. Well, yes, they are. Does seem to be a relationship that they all seem to have a little bit of something to do with hippopotamuses. But I like hippopotamuses, so no point in offending them. But yes, they're just fucking hypocrites. They talk about being rational when it comes to something like, well, don't be judgmental. Don't be judging people with perversions. The funny thing about the interview is Brett never even brought up the thing that, well, TJ in one of his controversies basically defended being a pedophile. Thought it was okay. We should lower the age of consent. Except for the age of consent to commit suicide, because that's cowardly. Maybe we shouldn't we shouldn't allow them to commit suicide unless we can first humiliate them with a bunch of "you're a coward" statements. Maybe he'd go for that. It'd be okay to let people commit suicide as long as we can first insult them and berate them. Maybe. Anyway, so how much more has to be said on nihilism? Well, you could never persuade me of this, right, with any kind of rational argument that somehow value is subjective, when I know, objectively, I have good and bad feelings. And they're not just like good and bad, like there's the color red and there's the color green. It's not like that kind of difference. No, it's like a difference where I can't even put my arms far enough away, and I couldn't even stretch my arms, even like if I could get to Pluto, and I could get to where Pluto would be if it was on the other side of the sun. Even if I could stretch them that far, I still wouldn't be quite grasping the difference between torture, nail in the eye, and having a cupcake. It really wouldn't be able to express the difference in that physical sensation if that sensation especially was maintained over any lengthy period of time. Just how grotesquely unpleasant that is as a physical and conscious experience, especially when you know you're doomed to it, especially when you know that you've got some kind of disease and you're going to have to go through some long process of choking on your own vomit. And that's going to be fun, and it's going to be exciting and stimulating. That's how they would look at it, I guess. That it's just neural activity, and therefore it must be good, because all neural activity is just neural activity. And so it's all good because there's nothing obviously bad or negative. We can't see anything different between the good feelings and the bad feelings, because that would be subjective. They're only subjectively different. But no, just like the fact that colors aren't subjectively different, they are physically different. There's a physical difference between your brain state when it's feeling good and your brain state when it's feeling bad. There's a physical correlation, and there's a correlation related to the thing called evolution and the function of the biological organism. We function this way because it works. Because it's the only way you can make something do something is to make value real to it. It has to not just see value, it has to know value. Or it's not going to give a shit. It's not going to move. It's not going to act. It's not going to jump on a grenade unless it has a value interest, a personal interest. Otherwise, it's just a program. Otherwise, it's just a mechanical process that just reacts to a circumstance, and that's clearly not what we're made to be. We're made to adapt to environments, and we're made to have our values conditioned by our maturation. But the catch is, we're outside of that game. That's the whole point of having intelligence, is it allows us to get the third-person perspective. It allows us to grow a brain, essentially, to enhance our minds, and to be rational and see above our own subjective interest, to see above our nepotism. I guess for the amazing atheist, he thinks his dog is better than everybody else's dog. He thinks his dog's needs are more important. And if he had a kid, he'd think his kid is more important than any other child in the world. Because properties aren't something the thing possesses, it's only something he projects. If he sees value, there's value. If he doesn't see value, there's no value. That's how he thinks reality works. My feelings only matter if he acknowledges their existence. And And that's it. There's no other criteria. There's nothing called reason. There's nothing called rationality. There's nothing called intelligence that allows you to see the thing's properties and to recognize that there's no difference between child A and child B except some stupid word like this one's yours and this one isn't. And the fact of the matter is there's often a big difference in the sense that the child B might be a better kid than yours. But will any of these people acknowledge the fact that that's the reality? That maybe somebody else's kids deserve something more than your own because they have a better capacity to make more productivity out of it, to take more use, to make more value in the world by creating more joy and preventing more pain? That this would be the thing you would invest in if you were rational, if you faced the world as a rational person? But is this what these atheists do? No, these nihilists do. Again, they shouldn't call themselves atheists because they're not only don't believe in God, but they don't believe in anything reasonable, in the sense that all they believe in is their subjective personal interest. And every other interest is just too much to be bothered with because it's not convenient. And again, it's back to the argument. You can see it quite obviously. If it was them that was going to be tortured, they'd understand that the value was kind of real. That it should be important to a rational person that they not be tortured. If a rational person, they would love to have a rational person making the decision of whether they should be tortured. And the last thing they would want is some fucking cockroach making the decision, or a tyrannosaurus, or something else that's making the decision based on what their stomach says, or what their penis says, or what some other self-interested organ says. No, they would want somebody who had a little bit of knowledge and intelligence and was able to see the difference between an orange and a fucking dog. So again, I extend this argument to the fact that the amazing atheist isn't smart enough or honest enough to say, hey, I'm being a duplicitous hypocrite to sit there and take care of the needs of my dog, to worry for its welfare, to worry about its pain, and yet not worry about the equally endowed, the equally brained pig that he'll eat. And that maybe he should grow up and maybe try to be a little more fair to the facts. He's sitting there saying he's a fair-minded guy and that he tries to sit there and find out what the truth is. And yet he runs from this truth as fast as he fucking can because it's inconvenient to him personally. And it means that he has to take responsibility for something. And that's all nihilism is about, is evasion of responsibility, evasion of the truth. And it gives you an excuse to pick on girls, to insult animals, and to, what else? There's some other thing. But yes, that's all it is. An excuse to sit there and indulge his own ego, to indulge his own personal interest, to pretend this subjective crap is anything but crap. That somehow your subjective personal perversions now define reality and what's good for the world. So if you want to molest children, all of a sudden the age of consent should be lowered because that's what I want. It's not what's in the best interest of children, of course. It's just in the best interest of what he wants. And that's the bullshit of this bullshit atheist. He has no respect for intelligence, no respect for knowledge, and especially the knowledge that makes you capable of understanding how God is not a possibility, how God is absolute nonsense, how the whole theory that even that aliens made this stupid slop and we're living in some synthetic jar somewhere, that nothing would make this something this stupid. Nothing intelligent makes dumb. This is unintelligent design. Why don't you concede that fact, TJ? Why don't you sit there and make a video about unintelligent design? That the whole fucking thing is stupid. A stupid competition between DNA molecules. That most of the kids produced by the planet Earth are slaughtered for food. That's right. That's the plan. Let's make a synthetic world where 95, maybe 98% of all the children born are harassed, tormented, beaten, slaughtered, and eaten. Why don't you make a video about how that makes rational sense? How some alien would think that's a really cool thing to do, and we should make a whole synthetic game and we'll make these little humans who believe all kinds of subjective nonsense and walk around basically wanking on the idea, getting off on it, because they're sadistic, self-interested, selfish fucks. Yeah, so fuck you. You're not an atheist, you're an asshole. A colossal, ignorant, hypocritical, duplicitous asshole.